like the costume? Yeah. You know what it is? Well, I wanted to be the thing that freaks out Malaysians the most. So I came as the Phantom of Immigration. So yes, I am a Bangladeshi. And you see, what that means is when anyone yells at me, "You think this is your father's road?" I can say yes. Because my people totally built all these roads. So, a lot of Malaysians are genuinely scared of Bangladeshis, even though we're the ones who build everything here. Like, I was having a conversation with a friend of mine, and I told him that Bangladeshis are the only thing that keeps Malaysia's economy running. And he told me that's not really true. You also have to be thankful for all the Nepalese in the country. And I told him, the Nepalese, how many security guards do you need here? He said, we need enough to protect us from all the Bangladeshis. So you see, I thought they got a good collection of performers for a scary show. You know, they got a Bangladeshi, they got a Syrian, and the host is a black man. You should see us in the dressing room. The racism just flows freely. The thing is, we're celebrating Halloween in this show, but Halloween is not really a big thing in Malaysia. I did grow up in Canada, and Canadian kids, we love Halloween. Like, Halloween is a great opportunity for all the kids to eat as much candy as they want. It's also a great opportunity to meet your neighborhood sexual predators. And they would usually give you even more candy. But the thing in Malaysia is, we don't have Halloween, instead we have the Hungry Ghost Festival, which is the festival where the Chinese believe that the spirits of the dead can walk among the living again, which is why the Chinese take money lending so seriously. Now, how many of you know what an along is? Now, in case any of you don't know, an along is the local term for a loan shark. And what the loan sharks here do, when you don't pay them back, is that they throw red paint at your house. And I used to think this was an excessive measure, but then I realized, oh, red is the color of prosperity in Chinese culture. So clearly what they're doing is they color your house red, it brings in the good luck, and then you can pay them back. Now you see, the word along is Chinese, which implies that all loan sharks are Chinese. But actually we have other words in Malaysia, like in Malay we say lintatara, which is, if you translate that into English, it means land leech. Like a giant blood-sucking creature that walks on land. I thought that sounds like it could be a good horror movie. But then if it's a Malay movie, it would probably be called Swamiku Lintadara. And then in Tamil, the word is chettiar. But chettiar is translated as money lender, not loan shark, which implies a bit more respectability. And I thought that would mean that if I borrow money from a chettiar, they would not throw red paint at my house. But then one day I came home and found my front door covered in tandoori chicken marinade. Which, let me tell you, is so much worse than the paint. Because even if you get the color out, the smell stays forever. So you see, money is very important in Asian culture. That's why during the Hungry Ghost Festival, Chinese families burn offerings to the spirits of their dead relatives. And the most common thing to burn is paper money. It's a special kind of money called hell money for the dead to spend in the afterlife. And I thought that's unusual, because if it's called hell money, that implies that all their relatives are in hell. So I asked my girlfriend, who is Chinese, do you think all of your relatives are in hell? And she thought about it for a second, and then she said, yeah. I think my relatives are probably in hell. In fact, I think there are a few relatives I know that should be in hell right now. Which means that apparently hell is full of Chinese people. Which explains why nobody wants to go there. And the thing is, if they have foreign exchange there, you know they also have Indians. How many of you believe in an afterlife? How many of you are religious or superstitious? I know a lot of Malaysians believe they're either religious or they believe in the supernatural. And these days some people feel that those kind of beliefs are old-fashioned. But I actually think that's not true. I think that believing in something that you cannot see, or is perhaps not real, is very much a part of modern life. For example, is Wi-Fi real? Are the likes you get on Facebook real? Some people think that coronavirus isn't even real. You can't see it. And the thing is, I work at a cafe, and I handle the SOP at the cafe. That means I need to take the temperature, sanitize the hands, all that. And I can see some people are not taking coronavirus seriously, which is why I'm kind of glad that I always wear a mask at work, because if they could see my whole face, they would be able to tell how much I really want to punch them. 90% of my time at work is trying not to punch people. Like, these days when I get someone coming in to get their temperature scanned, I see some people are doing this. I thought, what the hell is that, you Spider-Man or something? But apparently what it is that they want you to scan their wrist, not their head. Because apparently there's some belief that scanning your head will cause some kind of brain damage. Now, I'm no doctor, so I can't say whether that is true or not, but I did notice that it seems to be, why is it that the ones who are most worried about damaging their brains are the ones who weren't really using it in the first place? One of the other protocols that we had in Malaysia was there are no children below the age of 12, no senior citizens above the age of 60. So my cafe also had that SOP, and we enjoyed having no children there so much we decided to keep that rule. So now some parents, they come and say, how am I supposed to come without my children? And I just say, well, you know, adoption is always possible. Because you see, children here, as a brown man, when I got older, I noticed that I became a boogeyman for Malaysian families. So there were times when the families would come with their brownie children, and when the child is acting up, then the mother says to him, hey, if you don't behave, that uncle will beat you, huh? And then when they notice that I understand what they're saying, she says, sorry, and I think that's just despicable, that they would get my hopes up in that way. Because I would gladly beat their damn kids. Because you see, childhood in Asia is very different than Canada. Like in Canada, kids are taught to be afraid of so many things. They're taught to be afraid of germs and strangers and traffic and animals. Here in Asia, you are taught to be afraid of one thing: your parents. Now, for example, if you're a Canadian kid and you're eating lunch, probably mashed potatoes, that's already there, and suddenly a fly lands on your plate. Now you can't eat that because it's been contaminated. It could have germs, you could get sick. Here in Malaysia, you could have a whole entomological study going on your plate. And you still have to eat that food. Because germs are not going to hurt you as much as your parents will. When they find out how much food you wasted. Now, a few Malaysians, they asked me, if we were living in Canada, why did my family move back to Asia? Because you see, Canada is like South Asian Mecca. But the truth was, after living in Canada for some years, my father got fed up with the country. The weather is too cold, the food is too bland, the people even more so. He missed the local food, the local people, and above all, he missed being able to beat his children. He could not wait to get started. As soon as we were on the plane over here and things were not going his way, he just began letting loose. Bam! 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 I said, Bob, stop that. I don't think you're allowed to do that to flight attendants. And you see, when I was a kid, I didn't like horror movies. Are there any fans of horror movies here?
Yay!
Oh yes, a few of you. Now, you see, I know in Malaysia, people love tales about the supernatural, they love horror movies. Like here you see a few examples of the horror movies from Asia. Now you see the Malaysian one is the Pontianak, and in this picture you see she's holding a baby. A lot of Malaysian horror stories have to do with childbirth. And that's because childbirth was a very dangerous process in Malaysia, so there's a lot of horror stories about that. These days, childbirth is a much safer thing to do, so now a lot of Malaysian horror stories are about driving. A lot of the stories are these days you're driving and suddenly you see this girl all in white, long black hair, you let her in the car, you know, that's the horror story. And let me say, Malaysians are more likely to pick her off than a Bangladeshi. And then you see Japan, the very famous The Ring and The Grudge, where you see The Ring was about this girl, this ghost that comes out of a television set. Which you see, Japan is dealing with the oversaturation of their media. The next one is Thailand, which is about a haunted camera. Because you see, people people are afraid of getting caught doing the things they do in Thailand. So they would prefer what happens in Thailand stays in Thailand. Now then we have The Eye, which is a Singaporean Hong Kong production. It's about a haunted eye transplant. You see, Singapore and Hong Kong are worried about affecting their medical tourism. The middle one here is an Indian movie. You know, Bollywood. They don't really make as many horror movies because, you know, my people, we already live a horror movie. But this one is about a woman who transforms into a snake, because you see, that happens in India. And the last one is a Korean one called The Tale of Two Sisters, which I think is clearly a metaphor for the two Koreas. Now, do any of you notice a pattern in all of these movies? Can you tell what Asians are really afraid of? Asian men are terrified of women. The idea of an unstoppable, supernaturally powered woman is, that is an issue that they have to make all of this to deal with. So let me say, as an Asian man, I am also terrified of my girlfriend. My girlfriend is tough, she could totally kick my ass. Now, for example, and this is something I am loath to admit, but it is true, my Chinese girlfriend can take spicier food than I can. Do you know how embarrassing that is? As a brown man? We're sitting for dinner and she's like, "Oh, is that food too hot for you, baby? Do you need a glass of water?" And I can feel my ancestors rolling in their graves. What I want to say is, yeah, your ancestors have probably got a lot of spicy food in hell! So I tried to think of a way to get my own back against her. And it turned out, my Chinese girlfriend is terrible at math. Worse than I am. So now, every time she's paying at the cashier, I make sure I'm standing right behind her. "Oh, are those numbers too high for you, baby? Do you need an abacus? Do you want me to count that for you?" It's not a lot, but I'll take whatever victory I can get. Now, the thing is, I should admit this. The reason, as a brown man, I always wanted a Chinese girlfriend. Because I wanted Netflix. I think she's kind of on to me at this point because one thing that the Chinese believe is you never give someone a clock or a watch as a gift. That's like ticking away to their death. Guess who gave me this watch? So I thought either that's a very nice thing she's done for me, or maybe the Chinese in Malaysia are taking the long game when it comes to immigration control. So there are certain things that are considered unlucky in Chinese, like for example, the number 4 is considered very unlucky in Chinese culture. And you can imagine, as a Bangladeshi, when we come here and we're told to construct these buildings, and you tell us, "Don't build a 4th floor?" Now, you may think Bangladeshis are not educated, but we can at least count to 5. So you'll see, even in Penang-pac, did you see what floor? Any of you take the elevator here? There's level 1, level 2, level 3, level 3A, and then 5. The reason being that the number 4 in Chinese, the word for the number 4, is the same as the word for death in Chinese. and nobody wants to stay on the death floor. Now you see, I found out how serious this is for the Chinese because of my girlfriend. It turns out the Chinese cannot do foreplay. They can only do 3A play. Or they can play 4D. Now, I make a lot of jokes about my girlfriend, but I do love her. Now, in fact, I love her so much that every time we go out in public, I have to make sure I hold her hand very tightly. Because I'm afraid of what happens if I let go. Because see, if I let her go and she gets lost, I don't know if I'll be able to find her again. All these Chinese girls look the same to me. I don't want to say, that's a racist thing to say, but let me just say, it was hard enough telling you apart before you all started wearing the masks. So, you see, I've been with this girl for like a year and a half. I'm not sure if she's the same one I started with. So I just want to say, before I go, if any of you are Chinese women and you come talk to me after the show, please start it off by saying, "Hi, I'm not your girlfriend." Because I don't want to get anything confused. Okay? So thank you, that has been my set. See you all at another show.